Okay. This call is now being recorded. Thank you. We don't hear. All right. So beautiful morning, everybody. I'm sure some of us are wondering, 7 a.m. Dr. Toy, especially those that, so some of my mentees are used to this already, but quite a number of us that are just joining the train. I'm sure you'll be wondering. So 7 a.m. is very important. It's called the golden hours. Your life is so much important to me, to God, and even to yourself. So it's important that we do everything as early as possible to take distractions away. So today's session is actually, we have the camp, that's the Core Skills Accountability Mentoring Program. Right now, the second cohort is on. And I just felt so strongly to share this across a wider range of people yesterday evening. It was just the decision that came so strongly in my heart. And so I was like, okay, God, what are you saying? And he keeps telling me, share, let as many people that want to learn come and learn about the art of decision making. So when I say welcome to month 5, it's actually for some specific group of people and they know themselves of our journey. So today we are going to be exploring one of the most essential skills in life, and that is the skills of decision making. So whether it's in our daily task, whether we are planning for long-term, life-changing moments, the truth is that our decision shapes our future. So it's very important for us to learn how to make them well. Quite a number of us, in fact, not probably, all of us, including me, we make decisions every single day, every single hour, every single minute. And so it's important for us to learn the art so that going forward, yes, we may have been making very good decisions, but we can make better decisions, all right? So we're going to be examining, how the tools and the insights that would help us navigate choices with greater confidence and clarity. So if you're like me, at some point in my life, I've made several mistakes. However, I'm always so grateful to God that I've made more better decisions than worse off decisions. And that's one of the reasons why God has strategically positioned me for such a time as this and for the kind of work he has impressed in my heart. So I don't in any way take it for granted. And I just believe that this month we are going to be learning a lot, and as much as possible, when we put it into action, it's going to help us become a lot more better, achieve higher form of authentic success, and of course, we will thrive on to significance, right? So today we'll be looking at understanding decision-making models. That is, we'll be exploring framework that would guide our choices. We're looking at emotional and rational decisions, where we'll be able to balance logic and feelings in our choices. What roles do they play? How do they affect us either positively or negatively? We're looking at the psychology of choice, how our minds process options and alternatives. And then, of course, we'll be looking at how we can overcome decision fatigue. There's such thing as decision fatigue because we have several alternatives where we have to consistently make, especially the higher you rise in life, you then begin to realize that your decision does not only just affect you, but it has a generic impact on every other person around you. And so you want to then be a lot more circumspect. You want to then be, a lot more intentional. Why? Because you know that it's not just about you anymore. And it has ripple effect on everyone that kinds of look up to you one way or the other in various roles you play in their lives. So decision making isn't just about logic. It's emotional, psychological, and even biological in some instances. So sometimes, it's genetic. Sometimes by the reason of the way you grew up, your background, and all of that. So these key areas will help us understand the complexity behind every choice we make. So the choices we make sometimes seems not too serious. I mean, on the surface, but then today you're going to be learning how you can be much more, how will I put it now, intentional, because it may look on the surface very, I'm sure a lot of us have seen the pictures of an iceberg. If you have seen that illustration, that picture of an iceberg before, type in the comments yes. Let me see. Type in the comments yes, that picture of the iceberg, where at the top you would see something not too serious, but beneath it, you would then see a very, very serious stuff happening below. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ngozi. Thank you, Ogechi. Yes. Thank you, Esther. Yes. Thank you, Ibrahim. So if you haven't, go and Google, go and search for what an iceberg looks like, and then you would have a visual representation of what I was trying to say. So key subtopics, we'll be looking at our decision-making models, cognitive biases, decision tools, and mindfulness in decision. So these topics will help you go from theory to practice. You'll see how each concept applies to real-life situations, providing a comprehensive framework for improving your decision-making process. So, of course, I will be sharing some personal stories. I just like to bring things home as much as possible, but I'm sure we're going to have a great time learning this morning. So, what are my objectives? Basically, to help us identify frameworks, recognize different decision making approaches, and when to apply each one, how we can reduce biases and identify and minimize cognitive biases that clouds our judgment. So, this is one of the things that has that worked for me so well, especially when I was making the choice and making the decision about a life partner. As usual, just like any lady would, I had several options, but then of course, everyone knows that my husband is from the East, and I was able to tell myself that, Madam, it's not about the tribe, it's not about the prejudice, it's about you being able to understand who the person is, having foresight. And then I'll be sharing more about that story during the pros and cons. Also, we'll look at how we can apply practical tools where we utilize decision-making tools to improve choice, quality, and then balancing logic and emotion. Like I've mentioned, okay, it's really, really something that. So I've made a lot of decisions based on logic, and I've made a lot of decisions based on emotions, and it's not how will I put it now? It's not automatic. So some of the decisions I make rationally, right, did not end up well, and some of the decisions I made emotionally did not end up well, and some of the decisions that I made logically ended up well, and some of the decisions I made emotionally ended up well. So when we keep these goals in mind throughout our session, we'll keep them in mind, and then they'll guide our conversation and reflection exercises later, helping you to develop a more intentional approach to decision, both big and small. All right. So we started with looking at what is the difference between rational decision making and intuitive decision making. So when we talk about rational decision making, of course, most of us are aware that it has to do with logic, step-by-step approach, is systematic, and it actually works well when we have complex decisions to make. So for example, choosing a life partner, buying a car. Um, so why did I say choosing the life partner? Because oftentimes our emotions are clouded, right? When we tend to be more intuitive when it comes to things that primarily has to do with our emotions. So at some point in my life, I just had to think about it, and I had to make a more rational decision in my marriage decision. Okay, but then we know that generally rational decision making involves gathering information, weighing options, and a systematic evaluation. So the strength is that though uh through thorough it's actually very thorough, it's defensible, and it reduces error to a large extent. However, the weakness is that it's time consuming, and it can lead to analysis paralysis. So I used to have a mentor that doesn't joke with this analysis paralysis stuff, and it's sincerely, rational decision making has held a lot of people back from making, how will I put it now, from taking risk. Yes, because rational decision making, because it's very systematic in its approach. There's a tendency for people to you analyze every single thing and then you just say, "Mm-mm, this is not it." But there are sometimes in our lives that if we don't take some certain risky decisions, and that's why it's called calculated risk, it won't propel us at the speed, especially when you have already gotten clarity of direction. It won't propel you at the speed that you need to move. So rational decision, that's just the weakness part of it, and it can be time consuming. So you say, everything has to be perfect before I get started, and what have you. And before you know what is happening, you just see somebody else that have executed that idea, and you're like, and I had this idea. You had it, but you didn't act on it. So sorry, someone else that acted on it will move with it. Then we have the intuitive decision making, which is usually fast, based on God's reaction that draws on experiences and pattern recognition. Useful in time-sensitive situations like sensing danger or making social judgment. So you just say, I don't know, but I just have a feeling. I'm sure a lot of us are, I just have a feeling. And then this is where a lot of us also are able to bring in our spirituality, sensitivity to the Holy Spirit, and what have you, because of course, I'm a Christian, and so sometimes my faith comes to the fore. So the strength is that it's quick, and oftentimes it draws on a myriad of your expertise, your experiences, your competence, and then it works with incomplete information. So it works with incomplete information, but then you realize that when you make that decision, it's like, thank God I made that decision. However, the weaknesses is that it's vulnerable to biases. It's also prone to high level of mistakes. Yes, very, very true. And then it's hard to explain to others. And when people say, can you make me understand? That's when you begin to say, I don't just know how to explain it, but I just have this very strong feelings. So one of the decisions that I've made that was quite intuitive, that was detrimental to me, was well, I won't say that, because for some reasons, for the children of God, Romans 8:28 says that for now we know that all things work together for good. So sometimes when you make those decisions, at the very beginning, it may seem quite, unfavorable, but if you can think deeper and look more holistically, you realize that it's actually working out for your good. So I mean, uh, just like every one of us, I've done multi-level marketing and I've seen Shaggy. So I joined one recently that had to do with health. So I tried to make some logical and reasonable decisions. And because it had a lot to do with health, and I mean, at that point I was very health conscious. So I joined, but then I later realized that it was quite distracting. I realized that it was taking more of my productive hours. But guess what? There was a book that was recommended during when I joined that, because aside from the fact that, so one of the reasons why I made up my mind to join that team was because it was not just about the health benefits. Also, they do a lot of trainings, continuous development around health, around business development, and all of that. But then at some point, I realized that it was distracting me from my core purpose in life. And that's why I had to also quickly make another very, very fast decision to drop it. However, there was a book that was recommended. The book is here. I'm yet to recover from that book. The book is there. It talks about it says $17 worth of, no, sorry, $75 worth of 80/20 software tools inside. It's actually called the 80/20 Sales and Marketing Rules by Perry Marshall. Now, this book I finished reading this book, I think February, but it's yet to leave my table. Why? Because this particular book actually helped to transform so many things and gave me a lot of insight into sales and marketing. So it was recommended. So every time I say, maybe this was the reason why I joined anyway, because this book has been transformational for me. So I've read it from back to back. And I just realized that it's a reference book. It's not a book I'll put back on my shelf because there's so many things I am still siphoning from it. So we use both approaches, and the trick is knowing when to use each. That's just the truth. So I wouldn't say that rational decision making is the way to go or intuitive decision making is the way to go. Rational decisions are slower but thorough. Intuitive decisions are fast and based on experience, but both are valid in different contexts. So it's just for you to be able to know which of the which of the which of the which of the two that you want to decide on so that you can then move forward. All right, so let's continue. So let's look at the psychology of choice. If I'm making sense so far, type in the chat section. MS simply says make sense, make sense, make sense. I'm looking out on the chart. Thank you, Gichi. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Thank you, Antonia. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. All right, so let's look at the psychology of choices. Thank you, Abraham. Engaging. Thank you, Pere. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Fatima. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Fantastic. So let's look at the psychology of choice. And for the psychology of choice, it speaks largely about some of the things that happens behind the scene for every one of us as humans that we don't really take into cognizance. Did you know that an average adult makes a minimum of about 35,000 decisions every day, from trivial to significant decisions. So from what should I wear, what should I eat, where should I go, how should I go? This thing happens very sporadically, right? And oftentimes we don't take note, but research has found that we make over 35,000 decisions daily. So type in the comment 35,000 so that you think I enter your body. You may want to write in words, you may want to write in figures. Type in the chat. Whooping 35,000. Yes, Ngozi. You know, an average of that every single day. So you cannot imagine those of us, because I know largely of us are in the education sector. You can imagine that definitely we may be even be making more than that, because at every single time when you're teaching, a lot of things just comes to your head and then you look at it. Yeah, Abraham. Yeah, Fatima. Fatima even put the thinking emoji like, are you for real? Yes, Azine. Yes, about 35,000 decisions every day. Now, do you know that our brain has the capacity to hold and compare options? Our brain's capacity to hold and compare options is quite limited. So we have between 7 plus or minus 2, you know, capacity to do this. And you know, yes, Antonia. Yes, so the 5,000 or more. So you can imagine we are such a massive, massive creature. So when people want to look down on us and say, ah, you're just an ordinary, no, you're not ordinary. At least this one you would know. So do you also know that the ideal number of options for effective decision making should be between 3 to 5, you know, choices. Once you are having a lot more than that, you need to narrow it down. Now, the paradox of choice shows that there are more options. You know, that more options often creates more stress and decision paralysis. So as much as possible, you want to sit down and narrow down your alternatives, because remember, I also said that there's such a thing as decision-making fatigue. So you want to make sure that and that's why always have a notepad around you. I say that a lot because I don't joke with that. You know, it's always very important that we are circumspect about our lives and have a notepad. Always have a notepad. Yes, I use my phone notepad too, but you see this hard copy notepad, sometimes I have like 4 or 5 on my table, because I just want to be able to clearly put things and reduce the stress. And I write down a lot of things so that I could take off the stress from my head, you know, Yesterday I was still fighting with my admin. When I tell her stuff, she would go like, okay, ma. I say, write it down. And she'll say, I'm still very young, I'll remember. And then I keep telling her, guess what? The shortest memory, right? The shortest memory is, sorry, the shortest pen is longer than the longest memory. So what does that imply? That simply implies that, hey, guess what? You have to be very, very intentional about taking things down, writing things down. It gives a lot of clarity. And then, it also reduces your stress and decision paralysis. So always have a notepad, invest in notepads. I would say it over and over again. Invest in, always have it around you. So we must also watch out for cognitive biases like anchoring, that fixating on initial information. So, like they say that the 21st century illiterate is not somebody that cannot learn, or that's not somebody that cannot read and write, but someone that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we need to make sure that we let go a lot of cognitive biases. I was listening to a podcast yesterday by one of my role models. I don't know if you know him, Visu. Visu is is a world-renowned speaker, coach, and all of that. He's based in South Africa. And in that podcast yesterday, he was actually saying something very, very significant, and he calls it psychological contract. Hmm. In that podcast, he was talking about how the fact that as humans, when we came into the world, we came unbiased, we came plain, we came open, we came, you know, and then over time, as we socialize, as we grow, we then begin to have biases. So, for example, where you are giving birth to, the kind of family you were born into, the circumstances around. In fact, even the choice of religion is really, whether you are a Christian or you are a Muslim, is really, really embedded and engulfed in the fact that you were born in a particular location. So anchoring has to do with your fixation on initial information that has built you over time. All right. And then you then begin to confirm this your bias, seeking evidence that supports your existing beliefs. And he said something. He said, you should be flexible with your beliefs. However, principles are fixed, but then beliefs are flexible. And that the more you are flexible with your belief, the more successful and significant life you would live. And then, of course, there's also something called overconfidence in our judgment. You have to be able to be flexible enough, to be open enough. And that's why I'm sure a lot of us have seen that the picture and graphics on fixed mindset and growth mindset. If you have seen that before, type yes in the comments. Let me see. That graphics that shows fixed mindset and growth mindset. So just type yes if you have seen that graphics before. Oh yes, Ogechi. Yeah. So you need to go back. So I've given you two assignment now. The first is that you need to go and Google the visual representation of an iceberg. You need to also go and Google fixed and growth mindset graphics, and then look at it and then begin to evaluate and see how these things are formed to you over time. This is very, very crucial. All right, so we move. So let's look at tools that will help us make better decisions. I just decided to take 4 so that, because of our time, I know a lot of us have a long day ahead of us like I do. So I've decided to choose 4. There are a lot more, but I just decided to. Oh, Fatima, you've not seen that graphics of fixed and growth mindset. Okay, reach out to Ogechi. Ogechi is your plug. Ogechi, share it with Fatima. I like that. And that's why I always like to ask people to type in the comments, because I don't always want to assume. Okay, like they say, assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. And then, if you base your reality on assumption, it's very, very deceptive. Okay, so yes, Fatima Ogechi has got you. So let's look at the 4. We have the pro and cons list. We have the decision matrix. We have the Eisenhower box, and we have the postmortem. So I'm going to be going through this in more details, right, in today's conversation. So the pro and con list simply is very simple. Simple but very effective. It's for you to just take your pen and paper and then write down your, I mean, the pros and cons of making a particular decisions. What if I make this decision, what is going to be the advantage for me and what's going to be the disadvantages for me? So I did that when I was finally making a choice of, because I had almost like 3 or 4 guys on my neck when I finally made a decision to marry my husband. So what were the pros? The pros was that it's visionary. The pros was that, somebody is a child of God. He has leadership capability to lead me, because I knew I cannot marry somebody that is not as strong-willed as I am, because I can just end up slapping the person one day. So please, if that got you cracked up, I want you to put the laughter emoji. I want to see the emojis. I just felt that. Fatima, yes, Esther, yes. So, what kind of mumu husband is this? Isn't it? Yeah, so I knew I needed somebody that. So I wrote that as a pro. Thank you, guys. I also believe that what do they call it? How do they say it now? Normal is boring, right? So I wanted to explore. In fact, the person I dated for my husband was from the northern part of the country. It was from Taraba State. So I'd always wanted to explore out of my tribe. I wanted to know more about other people's tribe and all of that. So I mean, that's one of the things I've been enjoying in my marriage and all of that. Then I look at the cons. Let me shock you. Let me shock you. I'm going to reduce my voice now because it's somewhere around. One of the cons is that initially I wasn't attracted to my husband. I mean, who does that? I wasn't physically attracted, but I was spiritually and mentally, Fatima, you're laughing at me. Okay, there is God, though. I'm being vulnerable to you now. Your mentor is being vulnerable to you, but I didn't realize that, those are more intuitive and it could change over time. And guess what? 1 year after our marriage, I really, really loved his physique, because it was chubby. Then I was very, very slim, not like now. And I was like, that's how bone will be meeting with bone. And there will be a lot of brang, 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 brang. I mean, it was chubby. It was my teddy bear. Yeah, Esther. So you can see that sometimes when we make some decision of Antonia. Oh my God. So sometimes when we make very, very funny decisions, yeah, done. Yeah, you see my hands get the soup. Yeah, you love the vulnerable part. Yes, just I would always do that. You put pepper soup. I mean, there's hardly a week my husband does not buy me stuff. And so sometimes I just feel like, this man, you buy me slippers. But there's a rule, that thing that he buys for me, I must not give it out. Because one day we just wake up and say, where's that thing I bought for you? Bought me 2 pairs of slippers just this week before I came back from my long trip into the eastern part. He bought me some belts and all of that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Joseph said, and this is why you got me clicked to your coaching. Is the teddy bear part for me? People are laughing at me this morning. You like Aproko too much. Oh yeah, let us continue with class. So that's that about the pro and cons list. So for the decision matrix list, I don't know. I guess I'm just saying this for someone. I'm just teaching as I'm led. This is my pulpit. So when I'm teaching, I'm very open. I'm very open to the Spirit of God. I'm very open to share and what have you. So for the decision matrix, this talks about scoring your options against weighted criteria. So you have like a success criteria. Most of us are educators, so you have like a rubrics, and then you want to find and look at how you can make best overall choice from your rubrics after scoring. Then the Eisenward box has to do with categorizing decision by urgency and importance to prioritize effectively. So you've heard about the important and urgent, not important, not urgent, and what have you. Then we have the pre-mathem that has to do with imagining potential failure scenarios to identify risk before they occur. So it's important that we don't just think about these tools, rather that we visualize it. And definitely you can trust your coach and mentor. I already have the visuals, So these tools will help us slow down the chaos and clarify our thinking by externalizing our decision process to reduce cognitive load and see patterns more clearly. So yes, one of the reasons why I invited all of us is because for those that have even done mentorship with us before, a lot of things have changed. We have what is called the CAMP Accountability Mentoring Program. And so yes, this is actually the flyer for the present cohort. So if you're on this call and you're not part of this particular, you are enjoying this because we have the campites in the room. So if you're a campite, type in the room, type in the chat, campites, campites, campites. Let them know you, let them know you, let them recognize you. Oh yeah, yeah, my camp people, my yard people, type campite. So the next cohort is actually starting. Yes, so Esther the campite. Yes, so Ogechi the campite. So the next cohort is actually starting July, August, September. Yes, so campite, Antonia. Yes, so Fatima the campite. All right. Yes, isn't it the campite? Isn't it? You are not a campite though. You are in a you are in a ECCPO. This is a totally different um experience, right? But yeah, you are my education consulting and mentoring. Yeah, on the education consulting aspect. But this is in fact, this is a fourth cycle. So the first cycle of the camp accountability program is being able to, have a camp framework, have an in-depth understanding of your identity. All right. What is Campite all about, please? Okay, so I'm going to allow somebody so that I will not be the only voice that you are hearing in this. So, Antonia, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So, somebody is asking, what is Campite all about? So, share, let the person hear what Campite is all about. Abraham, you said Campori. What's the meaning of Campori? Antonia, please unmute and share what
Yeah,
being a Campite is all about. Yeah.
good morning. Thank you, Coach. You actually put me on the spot, though. Jesus, Igwe. Okay, so what we do here is um, more about taking our our life and put it in the proper perspective. From goal setting to being accountable, taking actions, and even this decision making we're talking about this morning, knowing what you really want to do and how you want to go about it, living life um, intentionally, being intentional about your life, your work, your career, family, because a lot of us, we just live daily without direction. So this um, opportunity is one that will actually help us streamline, align our purposes, and be able to achieve our goals. So we also have this portion where, or this time where we are paired, every one of us on the group, we are paired, we are checking up on each other. What are you doing? Helping each other, in our various endeavors. It helps us to bond. It also gives us reasons why we really even have to bond with our families and, just living life purposefully and being very accountable. So, and we read, for some of us who don't love to read, this also helps us to have that mind and ability to train us and teach us
Antonia,
to.
tell them the quality of the book.
Ha, 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 ha. We have read some books that I have never dreamt of reading, some I've heard about, and how those books have actually impacted. Like the last one that has to do with networking, that was very, very inciting. So, and then we also had the one that had to do with habits. There are a lot of
Atomic
things that
Habits.
we do. Yeah, atomic habits.
Brian
So there are a
Tracy goes.
yeah, so there are a lot of things we do and we just do them. We don't know why we do them. But you see, when you read and you're intentional, you're purposeful, you understand, these things, it now helps you when you're done. It now helps you to go back to the drawing board and begin to live your life, work life, family life, career life, and you have a balance. You kind of have a balance. And then we have also created a network of community. Like everybody here, well, I may not be your body, but I'm your body, because at any point in time I can actually reach out, pick up my phone and reach out to you, probably because I've heard something you said during the meetings that actually struck me, and probably it did not resonate at the time. But there is a network, there's a community that we grow even from this camp that we are all in.
Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so I guess.
Awesome. You've done a very good job. So yes, just like you said, that's what we do in camp as a summary. And those that have mentored over the years, they know I don't mentor and adopt them. So I'm going to be calling Ogechi. Ogechi, you have the floor. So I would like you to share your history about me being your mentor for over the years, just a summary, and how many years now, and how has it been for you?
Wow.
I
Thank you
intentionally did
so
not tell you
much,
so that it will not be as if we staged it. So just speak from your heart.
Okay, thank you, Ma. Good morning, Ma. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the
Morning.
opportunity. I feel so put on the spot. In fact, I somehow knew you were going to call me, but when you called Attorney, I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Can you imagine? You're thanking Jesus that they called me. I actually thought they were going to call you, but somehow I just knew that Dr. Tun
You
is going
see,
to call me because she has not heard my voice.
I'm making decisions, and you people, you are trying to preempt my decision making. Can you imagine?
Honestly, that's how I felt. But when I heard my name, I said, okay, Titon. All right. So I've known Dr. Twain since October 2021. And this is 2025, 4 years almost. Wow. Dr. Tony has just been, I don't know, I believe that it was God that directed me to Dr. Tony and Dr. Tony to me through a conversation I was having with another mentor. So I have a mentor in ministry/marriage, and we're just talking. And I was like telling her that I've been teaching a particular school and I needed help because I felt like I was almost going to be 5 years in that school. And I knew that I didn't want to spend more than 5 years. And she was telling me, okay, check out all these 4 people on Instagram and Facebook. She sent me links, and any of them that your heart resonates with, that is the person to follow, and that is the person to look to for your next season in the education space. And I checked out all the links she sent me, and the only person whose personality just flowed with me was Dr. Twain. And coming to see how I've been involved in Dr. Twain's programs, from mentoring to her ECCP for Education Consultancy Certification Program, to her Business of Consulting Program, to now CAMP, Core Skills Accountability and Mentoring Program. I just feel like Dr. Twain's heart is very close to God's heart. So she just getting heartbeat from God, and she's always on track. Like she's always hearing. Like I just keep looking at Dr. Twain and I'm always inspired. I was chatting with someone yesterday and I said, I don't know how Dr. Twain, and it was Dr. Twain that made me to know that person. But as I was chatting her, I was like, I don't know how Dr. Dolin does it, but she always, me just coming to my WhatsApp or to my Facebook and seeing her post just makes me know that, see, you can't stop. You can't give excuse. You have to keep going. You have to keep having new ideas. You have to keep writing. You have to keep doing what is in your heart and adding value to yourself and to the world around you. Dr. Toyin's community is something that keeps me going. Like I said, I know people I know now. There are many people I know now in my world, in my circle of influence because of Dr. Toyin, because of being associated with Dr. Toyin. So if you do her program, she doesn't just throw you away. Her community, her WhatsApp alum, Dr. Toyin must have alumni for everything she does. She doesn't do program and no, you even when you graduate, you'll be an alumni. And that alumni community is something else. Just knowing that you are there and you keep hearing and seeing information. And should I talk about Dr. Toyin's free? One day, Dr. Toyin gave all the people on her ECCP free 30 minutes consulting call. Who does that? Like she just wakes up one morning and comes up with something that is going to benefit even the people that are not currently on her program at that moment. So being in Dr. Toyin's world is something else. I tell you, you can't be stagnant. You have to be moving forward. You have to be having new ideas. Like Dr. Toyin tell you, keep writing, have a journal. As in looking at her, you can see the brainchild, the products of her writing, and it will inspire you to just make sure that you too keep writing, keep having ideas, and keep taking action on your goals. So thank you so much, Dr. Toyin. I really, really appreciate it. You're one person I'm never going to let go of in my life.
Yes, yes, and I can recall when you said when your husband read one of my books. You know, you didn't say some stuff about my books. How was the experience
Dr.
like?
Toyin's book is yeah. My husband read one of Dr. Toyin's books on core skills in mentoring, and he was like, "No, I really love this book. I need more of our young people in Kano to read about this book. You need to contact her and tell her to. Can she send some so that we can sell it over here and all of that?" We were so blessed, honestly.
Yeah.
Even my husband knows that being in Dr. Toyin's world is a blessing.
I'm telling you. So when I get to meet, my mentee spouses, whether wife or husband, they're like, thank you. You're the one stressing my wife. You're the one stressing my husband. Anyway, it's good. All right. So if you would like to be in the next course of camp, I've dropped the link in the chat. So just register your interests. It would be great to have you. The next cohort will be starting July 2025. So you want to be a part of it. Yeah. So I think you guys did a fantastic work. So Idris was able to say amazing. Thank you so much. Well done, Antonia. Well done, Ogechi. Then Ezine said, I can relate. So for just 10 days with her, I was hooked. Absolutely. So those are my new mentees from Abia State. So by the way, Ogechi is from Abia State. So, and Abia State is like a second home for me, like I do tell people. Okay, so I'm sure you can see my screen back. Now, there's something amazing I want to say about this camp. It's a life cycle. So the first is the one that we explained. Now, the second level is going to be starting, for those that are already done the first level, the second level is going to be starting July as well. And for those of you that will be moving to the second level, level 2 is all about your ability to be able to dominate your professional world, whether as a professional or as a business person. Oh, you don't want to know what I have in store. And by the way, that's a lot more expensive than this. I think it's about 200,000 or thereabout. Now, when you're done with level 2, level 3, there's level 3. Level 3 is I'm going to be showing you how you can make your money work for you. I've been an active investor for almost 1.5 years now. And guess what? I just got my landed property at the end of this month. And I became a brand ambassador for that real estate company. So I don't actually spend my salary. I don't spend my, how will I put it now? I don't spend my salary. I don't spend money I directly worked for. I spend the dividends that comes in from my investments. So that is what I use to furnish my lifestyle. So if you think that I'm spending the money I work for, you are joking. So level 3, I'm going to be showing you how the different, and it's not MMM. You have to be patient, ranging from stocks to bonds, to federal government bonds, to mutual funds, to money market. Wait for that time. So that one is level 3. And everything is 3-month cycles, right? Then there is level 4. Level 4 is moving into your significance. How you can replicate what Dr. Toyin is doing. Your ability to be able to build community of impact and significance. And yet, people will pay you for being a part of your community, just like you guys are doing. Right. So in as much as I have the free, I still have the free community because there's a part of me that, of course, gives back. And I'm sure some of them are on this call. But for now, I lock them up Yeah, because I needed to focus on the premium people, because I know that when people pay, they pay attention. Most of them are not here because I mean it's a free community, so they can decide not to. But for those of us that made payments, we are here, and that's the whole essence. So I'm also very big on volunteering strategically. I don't volunteer because I feel like volunteering or because intuitively I make the decision. I volunteer because there is what is called enlightened interest. All right, so let's move forward. So let's look at the first two, the pro and con list. I mean, it's very easy. So like you can see here, list the positive and the negative aspects of a decision. And you people have laughed at me very well when I shared my story. So I'm not going to be wasting any more time on this. It's as simple as it is. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? All right. So let's move on. So for the decision matrix, this is usually, like I have explained initially, it has to do more with having score of options, okay, against weighted criteria to find the best overall choice. So you have success criteria when you are on your decision matrix. So this that I put here is just like an example of, so a group of people deciding between three options of new software. So here you must be able to clearly state what your alternatives are, okay? And I'm sure a lot of us, we did at least fundamental economics, scale of preference, alternative foregone, and what have you. So it's about, so what they did was they identified 4 criteria to rate each options on a scale of 1 to 5. So on the right, they have added weight of each criteria in order to prioritize certain criteria over others. So if you look at this side now, what they did was they had option A, option B, option C. And then they compared cost for option A, for option B, and for option C. They compared the features, they compared the user friendliness, they compared the customer support. So when they did this, they now considered these were the criteria that they used, and then the total. So looking at it here, now look at it here, they had a tie. Now, because they had a tie, decision matrix without weights above works well when all criteria are considered equally important. So because they had a tie between option A and C, look at what they now went to do here. They now came back here, and then they added weight as the most, as a criteria to be able to differentiate and then make a final decision, because you can't they can't buy the two softwares, so they have to come to a place where they say, okay, what else can we look at as a criteria, and then they consider the weight of the software. So again, they brought back all the other criteria for the 3 options they had, and then when they check out the weight, they realized that when it comes to the weight, it's then there was a difference. And then what did that help them to do? It then finally helped them to settle down for option C. Okay, and so this is more systematic, this is more logical, this is more it's more time consuming, and like I said, you must have alternatives when you are using the decision matrix. Now let's look at this. I use this a lot, and this is one of the things that has been one of the secrets of my life. So it's important to have your to-do list, or and then when I also encourage people to have not to-do list. You need to be given to learn how to know the things that you stop doing. Now, most of us are mothers on this call. Apologies to our daddies, but there's some things that you have to know that you can't keep up with. Don't say that I'm the one that told you. And they always say, what you can't continue, don't start. And they just be very, very realistic. Fatima, you're laughing. Yes. So given the kind of work that I do, one of the things that I had to do on time, and because of the assignment, because after all is said and done, it's the significant life that matters. I started raising my children independently, and I gradually started, retrieving from doing a lot of chores, so to speak. So right now, my daughter does the breakfast cooking, my son does the dinner. It's only when my husband is around that I enter the kitchen. So when he's not around, and we sit down on my office table, they'll come and serve me. So you have to know what to delete, what to eliminate. Okay. Aside from that, at some point, don't be washing plates for children again. For what now? You want to kill yourself? I know I'm talking to some. Raise your children up early to become independent. You even become more beautiful. You stress yourself less. Yes, so you stress yourself less, you would, and then you have to be able to prioritize. That is very, very important. Patience, I see you. Good morning, my love. Because as women, so the thing is that God, yes, you give account, but it's easier for our daddies to take their shirts and then they're out. But for us, if we are not intentional, we'll just find ourselves encumbered. I'm not saying that being a mom or that. In fact, it will even help you to have the energy to focus on the right things, to focus on their emotions, to provide them with much more important life skills. But when you are being ingrained and carried out, that's my doctor. Yeah, so that's you, Fatima. I don't know why I'm talking about that. To be able to even give them more value, from being a mom, you're able to spare time to read. And statistics have shown that the level of exposure, education of a mom impacts on the life of the children. So if you're not becoming a better version of you, I don't know. So let me continue on my conversation. All right, so don't mind me that I will change my voice and something because now as they go. So you need to be able to identify urgent and important. So when something comes into urgent and important matrix, you know that these are tasks you need to do immediately. When something comes in between important, not urgent, you need to schedule. But guess what? Do you know that this is the most important matrix? The important but not urgent. See, if you do this very well, and this is where goal setting, your planning, and all of that, and that's why camp will provide you with that environment to be able to do all of this. When you are able to focus largely on this, you will most of the time not be in this quadrant. All right. So you could also say do the side. So this also falls on that side. I'm sure you've seen one of the videos that I shared, and when people ask me, so how do you cope with all of that? When I said I actually exercise the 4 Ds: do, decide, delete, and delegate. So this is delete. This is decide. This is also called decide. This is also called delete. So then you need to be able to know what tasks do you need to delegate to someone else. See, this one I had to learn it the hard way because you would know that I don't joke with excellence. And sometimes excellence can come as a disease. I'm telling you my weakness now. But I've had to learn to choose what, and this is one of the things this book did for me. It was able to help me to understand some things that anything I don't like. In fact, my weaknesses, I delegate it. I've always tell people that don't work on your weaknesses. The time you are spending to work on your weaknesses is somebody else's strength. Your strength is somebody else's weaknesses. Delegate it. If you can send money on errand, send money on errand. Right? All right. And then eliminate not important, not urgent as much as possible. There are activities in our lives. For example, I'm very, 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 very circumspect about WhatsApp messages I respond to. In fact, I don't get into my group WhatsApp. There are some groups that I've made as priority. There are some I will not check until I'm done with all my work for the day. There are some messages I will not respond to until I'm done with my work for the day. Because guys, this is my life. Life not get duplicate too. I don't know about your own, but my own does not have duplicates. So I think I've really, really delved insightfully around this. So let's move on. So let's look at the final one, which has to do with the promotion risk matrix. And this has to do with like I explained earlier, we being able to consider various options. Okay, sorry. We'll soon be done, okay? But I mean, I just felt so strongly about this morning's class. I've not really felt this, So, imagine potential failure scenarios to identify risk before they occur. So, when you have the best case scenario and the worst case scenario, So here, you want to consider, what is it on a high likelihood, high impact, low likelihood. So it's a bit similar with the urgent and important matrix. So here you want to look at, okay, so high likelihood, low impact. So we want to share transfer, high likelihood risk. So it has to do do with risk taking, calculated risk taking. High likelihood, however, low impact. Look for ways to either transfer or share the risks between other parties. So if you look at high likelihood that you will get a good result, right, and then low impact, so you want to share, you want to seek for partnership and all of that. If there's a high likelihood and high impact, okay, you want to consider, sorry, my wristwatch is telling me that it's time to drink water. So you want to avoid it. You're going to have high impact. The risk is going to have high impact and then high likelihood. You want to avoid it. So risk to avoid. These are your high impact and high likelihood risk of occurring. This is where the majority of your efforts should be focused on. So if it has a low impact and low likelihood, what do? You accept. You accept and monitor. You know, these are low impact and low likelihood. Therefore, the cost to avoid or reduce this risk often outweighs the benefits. Then, where you have high impact and low likelihood, you want to reduce and exploit it. High impact risks but low likelihood. Find ways to reduce the impact or exploits to gain a better, to benefit better from it. All right, so these are the 4 tools I'm sharing with you. So, how do we overcome decision fatigue? Because it's real. Simplify your daily choices, like list small decisions through, for example, through routines, having timetable for meals. You know, a lot of us are women on this call and we are overwhelmed. Right from the very first day I entered my husband's house, I had a feeding time, I had a meal timetable because that was the way I was also raised. You see, because you know, it does a lot of things for us. So those that are daddies here, you can also educate the mommies in your life so that I won't seem partial. It helps a lot of, because the time that where I'll be trying to make decisions. Oh, do you know that sometimes, see, if you're on this call and you agree with me on this, sometimes what to eat, what to eat is serious headache for us women. What to cook? Please type. Yes. Type yes. If you're on this table, what to even cook sometimes. Okay, this is true. Yes, Antonia. Yes, honestly, it can be frustrating at times. Yes, Jamila. You can say that again, Doc. Yes, so that sometimes we want to go. So you know, when you have a meal timetable, it does not only help you to make decisions of what to cook quickly. It also helps you to know food that is about to finish in the house, how you want to replace it. So it has like a ripple effect of advantages. Unlike if you're just every day, oh, what do we cook now? I mean, that's the least of my problem. Almost 16 years going now. I don't think about, for example, everybody knows what we're eating this morning. And even sometimes when daddy buys things and all of that, we just cook what we're supposed to cook that we did not cook for the previous meal. It's as simple as that, Shikena. So that will help you to overcome decision fatigue. Then timing matters, making important decisions early in the day when your mental energy is highest. You've heard about energy management. You need to be able to identify what time of the day am I like, very, very active. For me, it's early hours between 5 a.m. and 12 noon. That's why you see me, I will have trainings like this. Any training you see me do in the evening is free, it's free webinar. But for clients that pay, I will do it early in the morning. But free webinar, we can do that one in the evening because, you would not pay after all. But I still give it my best, though. But just that my energy level is up, I'm able to give in my best at early hours. So you need to identify that. Then prioritize rest, sleep well. Tired minds make poorer choices. When I tell people that I have a minimum of 1 to 1.5 hours nap every day, a lot of people don't believe me. Nap, yes, in the afternoon, broad daylight. When I'm not actively on the field teaching or facilitating, when I'm working from my home office, I do prioritize that and I don't joke with it. Right now, restore mental energy, take mindful breaks, short walks to refresh decision-making capacity, hangouts. See, most of us are women on this call. We have a disease. Men naturally have. Mr. Joseph, please type in the section. Mr. Joseph and okay, all the men on the call. I know Mr. Joseph. I know Abraham. I know some other people joined from the free session, so I may not be able to mention your name because I can't really call you. But all the men, if you're a man on this call, type yes. You people just naturally know how to chillax. Either you are watching football, you are playing football, you are watching a movie, Please tell us in the chat too, because now I'm giving people attention. Oh. Yes or yes. Yes or yes. I are just generally hanging out with the boys. And that's why when you go to pepper soup joints in the evening, so Mr. Joseph, you just naturally know how to shut down. But you see, we women, it's a disease for us. So, for example, I'm hanging out with one of my mentees today. He just came in from America. I mean, no, sorry, from the UK. You know, Jesus, disease, kwa. Yes, so it's disease. So you have to force it. So sometimes when I say, let us hang out, let us, if people will not answer me, I'm just looking at you, you don't understand. It's one of the ways in which you can overcome decision fatigue. Even the most capable minds burns out. Decision fatigue is a real phenomenon where the quality of our decisions deteriorates after making many choices. So preserve your mental energy for what really matters by creating systems that reduce unnecessary decisions. So if I campite, you have read Atomic Habits. Go back. It says we rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. Back and go and review. Campites level 1, Campite level 2. Don't worry, that's the next book you are reading. So you are covered. All right. So that's that about that. So we are wrapping up. We need to ask ourselves, what type of decision maker am I? Reflect on your natural tendency. Do you fall more into being a rational decision maker or an intuitive decision maker? I think I fall more into rational because, funny enough, I'm a woman, but I think like a man. How often do I trust my gut? Consider your relationship with intuition, having to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit, having to listen to your spiritual source. What decision have I been avoiding? Some of us, there are some things that we know that when we make those decisions, it's going to be very, very pivotal and instrumental into the kind of life that God has designed for us to live. But we are procrastinating. So you need to identify procrastinated choices. These are the 3 questions I'm going to be leaving you with. It's your personal question, it's your personal answer. You don't need to send it to me. So take a moment, screenshot this particular slide and take a moment now for personal reflection. Pick one of these questions to journal about or share or chat. Then camp level 1, you have your buddy. This is something that you should do with your buddy this month. Camp level 2, don't worry, your buddies will be coming in by the end of this week. By the way, we're going to have our own session for camp level 2 members next week, Saturday. All right. So consider, camp 2.0. Why am I calling you level 2? You're not level 2, you're 2.0. You're level 1, 2.0. So consider also which tools from today's session you can start using immediately and how awareness of fatigue might change your approach to important decisions. Very, very important. So this is my final takeaway, and I believe and I hope that it's going to be very, very useful for you. So just give me a second. Let me just attend to this. Just a second, please. Whew. Wow, it's been a hot session this morning. If you agree with me, type yes in the chat. Like I was giving you buzz. Like I was giving you water. So type in the chat. I want to see your chats. If today's session has been worth your time. I mean, like I always say, I will do early morning, because your life is very important in the midst of everything. It's every man for himself, God for all of us. So don't be deceived. Nobody can love you like you do, except God anyway. Right? Except God. So when I call for 7 a.m. meeting, it's because you are worth putting in that effort after all is said and done. So yeah, my final takeaway in the end, I love this quote by Jeff Bezos. I'm sure most of us know who Jeff Bezos is. In the end, we are our choices. So your next great decision might not be the easiest, but it can be intentional, informed, and aligned with your values. So I want to say thank you for being here. You have the tools to become a more confident and cautious decision maker. Thank you so much, everyone. And that is going to be it for us today. And I can't just say thank you enough to everyone that joined. I'm sure it's been an amazing, 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 amazing experience. For me, I don't know about you. For me, it has been, it has been, it has been. So just some quick questions. So if you're a Campite, you go to the Telegram group and drop your responses. If you're a non-Campite, you can type on this charts. All right. So what is that one thing that you learned today? So go to testimonial page, no, interaction page, Campites. Go to interaction page on Telegram. Campites understand what I'm talking about. Yeah. We look forward to welcome you. Welcome you, welcome you, welcome. So go to the interaction page if you're a Campite and type. This feedback is very, very important for me. What is the one thing you learned today? What is that one thing you learned today? So my eyes are glued in the camp rooms. Camp 1.0, Camp 2.0. I want to see you typing on the interaction page. What is the one thing that you learned? I'm yet to see any of Camp 2.0 participants. I'm yet to see any engagement on your group. But if you're not a Campite, type in this comment section on the Google call. What is that one thing you learned today? Quickly, I need to get feedback. Be sure that in less than 10 minutes we'll be out of here. You can be sure on that. My people know me. When I say 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. What is that one thing you learned today? Because of our time, I can't give us opportunity to speak, so I need feedback. Thank you, Dawn. Dawn said, I really appreciate the different decision-making tools. Beautiful, beautiful. Campites, respond though. If you not respond, you're on your own. Yeah. Oh, Dr. Izine says, thanks a million, Dr. Tony. I just learned how to prioritize in my decision, be more intentional and deliberate. Very, very important. Very important. You know, so when people see me and they're like, she's a superwoman, there's nothing super about the woman. No, it's just some wisdom and God's grace. I must tell you. I must tell you. And that's one thing I give my entire heart out to my camp members. Okay, Camp 1.0, I can't see anything yet on your interaction page. Okay, good. Okay, testimonial page, I can see. Ogeji said, I learned how to analyze my decision, both rationally and intuitively. Absolutely, absolutely. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. So let's keep it coming, guys. Let's keep it coming. I'm just a very, so Idris says, I learned how to take actions and be accountable for I learned how to take actions and be accountable for one's decisions. Very, very important, you know. So it's also, there's also something that is a very, very powerful tool to raise children. You need to use the pros and cons. Let them have consequences for either good or bad decisions. In fact, it works like magic. There was a day my son said, Mommy, I think I prefer you beating me than the consequences. You know, for a child to say, I prefer you beating me, I say, no, I can't beat you because I preach it that we should not beat children. But when there is consequence, so for example, I catch you're on your device after I've told us that everybody shut down their device by 9 p.m., you'll be granted. The consequences that the following day, you're not going to have access to your device at all. It's as simple as that. No noise, no headache, no shouting, and everybody is fine. All right, so did you learn anything that surprised you today from what I mentioned? What is that thing? Type in the chat. Everybody type in the Google Meet chat. Did you learn anything that surprised you today? It could be from my story. It could be from analogies. It could be, was there anything that surprised you today that you learned from today's conversation? So that's the last question. Was there anything that surprised you today? You know, you're surprised. You're like, oh wow, aha moments. Like seriously, is there anything that surprised you today from today's conversation? Anybody? Let's use the chat. Oh yes. So okay, she said, I loved all the tips for raising kids I got for free. Absolutely, 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 absolutely. So let me go to my camp room. Tonya says, always write down your to-do, narrow your options to take the pressure off your brain. Yes. So talking about decision making fatigue. Fatima said, I had a very insightful session this morning on decision making. I learned how clarity, self-awareness, and structure can improve our everyday thinking and decision making. Truly an engaging and thought-provoking session. Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. And so it's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone. Campites, please, if you have questions, drop your questions on the interaction page on the group. Sorry, I won't be able to entertain questions from those that joined us free. Yells, because there has to be value for premium, right? And if you also like to share how your month went as a campite, please do make sure that you share on the interaction page. And campite, yes, I've got a very lovely camp 1.0. I've got a very lovely, in fact, I have 2 lovely ebooks that I'm going to be sharing with you guys tomorrow that we're going to be reading for the month. Okay, so having said that, please, you can unmute your mic. If you want to turn on your video and just say bye to everybody. And that's it for that. So you can unmute your mic and say bye-bye to everyone. So bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Miss
This boy,
Ogechi,
you attended class.
we need to
Yes.
speak. Oh, I will contact you anyway.
Oh, okay, Fatima, no problem. I'm your girl. Send me on errand. You know, that's what I always say. Okay, girl, send me on errand. Yeah, and then I also do one-on-one coaching. That one is very expensive. But let me warn you. All the boys joined class this morning. And babies as well. Awesome, awesome. Okay, people, have a fantastic day. And bye for now. Yeah.